Seriously, how did you get in here? Are you some kind of crazed fan or something? Oh my God, no, I recognize you. You did that B-grade geek magic thing, didn't you? You pulled
the hat out of the rabbit.
A hat out of the
Yeah,
rabbit,
I
that's
know
right.
that it didn't
No, it was
work.
actually kind of disgusting.
Oh, it was way worse for the rabbit.
Yeah, well, your drop was obvious and your body shell is flimsy. So if you wouldn't mind crawling out from under my couch and...
Ta-da! Now I'm sitting over here. Crazy! By the way, that rabbit thing, that was like 8 years ago, okay? I've gotten so much better since then.
Have you?
Yeah.
Okay, come here. What is it that you want?
Well, I wanted to meet you. Everybody, really. I want to be a part of the Eye, okay? I said it. I do. And I want to use my magic for good, like you and Merritt and Jack, especially. Oh, that's right. I know that Jack is alive. I know that he faked his own death. I'm a huge fan of faking deaths. That was crazy.
And that's a clip from Now You See Me Too, which stars Jesse Eisenberg, one of many stars in this movie, as J. Daniel Atlas. Hello, Jesse. How are you?
Great, Simon. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you very much, Steve, for coming on. And I wondered, actually, when I was just thinking about our conversation, I almost, because you're in the West End and you're doing that 8 shows a week, you're on stage the whole time, to sort of extricate yourself from that mindset and then back into the world of magic. And Now You See Me Too must be quite difficult, I'd have thought.
Without kind of overstating it or risking sounding pretentious, I find like doing anything other than the show during the day hard. It's just strange. My mind is on the show in such a thorough way that when I'm not in the theater, I feel odd. Most of my time during the week is spent doing the show or being in the theater or something, and so it feels odd. That said, it's very nice. I'm very proud of Now You See Me Too. I'm very happy with the movie. I am representing, at least here in England now, one of the best casts ever assembled for a thing like this. So I feel like very proud ambassador for that. So I'm happy to be here for it. But it certainly is an odd and surreal experience to I guess just be thinking about something else.
Yeah, so I imagine the first thing that occurs to you when you wake up in the morning is, it's the show tonight. What do I have to do? What went right last time? How can I make that better? And instead you're having to talk to people.
Yeah, exactly. So. No. I'm happy to. But no, we had yesterday off. Sunday is our off day for the show. So actually, I have no concerns about yesterday's show.
When Mark Ruffalo was on the show recently talking about Spotlight, he was talking about, and of course you're in this movie together, but he was talking about the joys of being in an ensemble piece, and he clearly was thrilled about, obviously went on to be a fantastically successful movie, but there must be a particular joy in working with great actors and bouncing lines of each other and doing tricks with each other. I imagine that's quite a buzz.
Yeah, my background, as well as Mark's, is in theater, and it's only in movies where there is this really kind of star stratification that occurs. But in theater, you're, even if you have one line in the show, you're backstage the whole time with the cast, and you're an integrated part of the movie, the play. So I think that's probably why we both really like ensembles, especially ensembles where it feels like you're better because of the sum, rather than being better because you're individually so special or interesting. And a movie like Now You See Me Too, even more than Now You See Me 1, because we brought on some other cast members for this one, feels like this kind of perfect ensemble formula where all the characters are distinct enough so that every actor feels like they can shine enough or for enough time, but that actually the sum of the parts are stronger. Yeah.
Can you get us up to speed just briefly, because in case people have forgotten, in case people missed the first movie, who are these main characters? Who are the horsemen? Where do we start this movie?
So the movie, and enjoying this movie does not require having seen the first one, but the movie takes place about a year after the last one ended. The greatest illusionists in the world, they're the Four Horsemen, which now include Mark Ruffalo, but it's me and Woody Harrelson, Dave Franco, and Lizzie Kaplan, are in hiding, waiting to come out and do our performance. We come out, and during our first performance, we're interrupted, and we're actually kidnapped, taken hostage by Daniel Radcliffe's character.
He's evil.
He's evil.
Who knew?
Yes, exactly. He was so great too. He's great in that character, and he kind of throws us into his mischievous magic trick, and we're kind of forced to find our way out using our great skill sets. Along the way, we get help or harm from Morgan Freeman and Michael Caine. So it's this kind of wonderful group of actors.
Yeah. And how much real? I mean, I've always been a fan of magic. I did a magic TV show many years ago.
Oh, wow.
And always loved close-up magic more than anything else, more than the big kind of
Me too.
all singing, all dancing Vegas star. Do you get to learn that? Do you get to do something? Because we're not quite sure what's for real and what's a camera trick.
Yes, and kind of the great irony of what you're just discussing is that the close-up magic is the real hard stuff to pull off, and the kind of big extravagant visual magic is comparatively easy. In this movie, my character makes it rain and then makes the rain pause and then makes the rain go up. This is actually all possible and actually doesn't require that much effort. It requires a little kind of machinery, strobe light and rain machine and some lights, but it's actually not very difficult for a magician to perform that trick, whereas some of the kind of close-up sleight of hand magic would take 20 years in front of a mirror for 8 hours a day to get right. Yeah, and so it's this very kind of funny paradox of all the beautiful stuff being frankly not that difficult to do, and all the subtle stuff, the stuff that's less impressive, to be is much more difficult. And as an actor kind of trying to learn some of this stuff, you end up developing this incredible reverence for the kind of subtle close-up magic, because you realize the effort that it takes. We had magic boot camp for a few weeks, and so I got okay at some easy tricks, but my kind of low-level proficiency it makes me that much more kind of impressed by somebody who's really good.
The magic boot camp, that's a real thing.
Yes, yeah. All the actors did it. There was some great...
Who's the best? Who's the best magician of you for real?
No question, Dave Franco is just phenomenal. I think he went home every day and really practiced, and I think he marries that with probably an innate skill set and maybe an innate kind of physical dexterity that maybe the rest of us don't have. And so he was really great. And so in an attempt to try to make this movie look as real as possible and to try to avoid using as much computer-generated effects as possible, especially when Dave was on camera, we tried to do things practically, tried to do tricks realistically.
There's a scene, I don't know how much you'd want to tell us about, but the scene where you all go into a vault, and the idea is that you have to steal this circuit and then get out again, which sounds very straightforward. But it is the most elaborate and most particularly choreographed scene, I think, that stayed with me after I came out of the movie. And I wonder, going back to what you were saying about being a theatre actor, that must have taken intense rehearsal.
Yeah. We rehearsed that scene for several days, and then we shot it over the course of 4 or 5 days. Maybe it's a 2-minute scene in the movie, so that gives you a sense of like the kind of effort to film time.
I should say, so basically you're trying to hide this circuit, and there's a bit of sleight of hand, and then you're throwing it to each other, and so the guards don't see it.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So the 4 illusionists are trying to steal this playing card-sized computer chip. So it's the size of a playing card, but it's a computer chip, and we're getting pat down by these guards. So when the guards are on one person, we have to subtly pass this card to another person, and we use every sleight of hand trick in the book to try to hide these card from these guards. The movie was directed by this great director, John Chu, whose background actually is in musical movies and dance.
Some of the Step Up films. Yeah.
That's right. And actually, the first movie he directed in his college film was given to me when I was 18 years old, because people know I like musicals, and he made this incredible short film in college that was a musical movie. And so he has a real knack and a talent for shooting choreographed scenes in a way that highlights what's interesting about them. I think the kind of trap to fall in shooting choreographed scenes is that it looks better live than it does on camera, but John is able to kind of reverse that. And so we rehearsed this for a long time and then shot it for a long time. So it's similar to theater in that you rehearse for a scene, but very dissimilar to theater in that it took 4 days to do one scene, whereas in the next 4 days I'll have done 6 of my shows.
J. Daniel Atlas, your character, is a very confident guy. I don't know if you have stage fright when you go on every night in the West End in London, but I don't think Atlas has any stage fright at all.
No, that's why I love playing this role and why I was so happy to do a sequel and hope they make several more because, it's the strangest thing as an actor. You get to kind of, at least lie to yourself and put yourself in somebody else's shoes for a while. And I do theater all the time, and it's my background, and I have, terrible anxiety, probably like most people who really, kind of sensitive people who also care about what they do. You really worry about it. It's normal. But my character in this movie is a performer and a great performer and has no fears, has no, he's not self-deprecating. He thinks of himself in kind of grandiose terms. And it's really fun to do that for a few months. When you're acting in a movie, you're there for 12, 14 hours a day. There's long days. And if you are kind of forcing yourself to, enjoy yourself, enjoy your performance, it in some ways infects your unconscious.
So you're happier and more confident playing this kind of role than you would be if you were playing some very unhappy, self-obsessed, neurotic character.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And it's this weird thing because actually, actors tend to be, lauded for playing the kind of the brooding characters, and I mostly play characters like that. But the irony is, I think they're probably most self-effacing or concerned about those characters because of the kind of, let's say, unconscious psychological effects that playing somebody like that has on them.
Yeah. Do you have? You've been directing. You've directing a TV comedy based on a short story collection that you've done. Does that make you think I'd like to do more? We had Jodie Foster on the show a couple of weeks ago, talking about Money Monster and her love of. I mean, that movie is 90 minutes, and her love of making television shows in, out. Get in, tell the story. Do you feel like it's something else you'd like to do more of? Yeah,
I'd love to direct this series. I wrote a book last year. And so we adapted it. I adapted it to be a TV series, and I'd love to do it. I'm not acting in it, so it gives me kind of an outsider's perspective on acting. I got these wonderful actors in it, and I love working with them. I like, the other aspects of direction. Obviously, I've been writing for a long time, and I write plays. And so to me, it's a wonderful kind of extension of what I do. I don't see it as that vastly different from acting in a movie, even a movie like Now You See Me Too, which is not only very different from my plays and tone, but also it's not something I would ever, be able to think of to write a movie of, the scope of Now You See Me Too with the kind of extravagance and amount of characters. It just wouldn't ever occur to me to write something like this. So, but I don't see them as that different.
Can you still write while you're here working in the West End? Do you have some downtime where you can think of some new ideas?
Yeah. I mean, I write every day. I'm writing a 6,000-word essay for a magazine now, so that's kind of taken up my last week because it's the longest kind of short fiction I've written for a magazine. And then I'm writing the TV series, which hopefully we'll shoot in the fall. So I can get stuff done. It's just a little bit difficult because the show is so emotionally draining that after it I feel, and before it I'm worried about it, and afterwards I'm kind of just drained. It's just taxing. But yes, I always vow to write when I'm doing plays because I think I have my days free, and then I remember that actually my days are consumed with panic.
It's been an interesting time to be in London.
Yeah, not only that, my play is about immigration. I wrote this play about 3 years ago, but the two main characters are me. I'm a kind of a privileged white kid in New York, and my roommate, who's a Nepalese immigrant, who's kind of studying business. And I kind of torment him and always tell him he has to go home for a variety of ultimately selfish reasons. And so it's interesting to write a show about my views on kind of immigration in New York and have it be kind of paralleling in a totally unplanned way some of the discussions that are happening in a kind of in the political sphere.
Does it feel more prescient, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's relevant. There are lines I have in the play, like where I'm telling my roommate he has to go back home to Nepal because I think he's going to be completely reliant on me, first for rent, but then food and clothing, and suddenly he's totally dependent on me. My character is a bit delusional, of course, but when I'm saying these lines every night, I feel. I don't know, I just feel they're tinged with some kind of different context based on the discussions that are happening here, which are, I'm an outsider, so it's not my business to weigh in on the political discussion here, but some of the rhetoric that gets discussed is rhetoric that I find upsetting as an American who has benefited from the immigrant experience. My family were, they were Polish immigrants who were escaping some pretty horrific conditions, less than a century ago, and have really benefited from what I think we found to be a kind of open culture. And so while it's not my business to weigh in on another country's political discussions, I certainly feel connected to that experience in some way.
Are you looking forward to some more Lex Luthor, or does that seem like a long way away from here at the moment?
I finished the play here, and luckily Justice League is shooting in London, so like every other movie, so I will get to stay in this beautiful city and shoot.
All right, so you have meetings already about what you're doing for Lex Luthor and costumes and plot.
I've had costumes meetings. I don't know what I'm doing in it. All I know is what I'm wearing in it. So that's how kind of secretive things are.
Well, which means it's very secretive.
Yeah.
Jesse Eisenberg, fantastic to have you on the show. We appreciate spending some time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very
thank you
much
for coming
indeed.
here. How nice.